According to statistics, very few people are actually going to retire with millions in their bank. The vast majority of people, I swear I read this, I need to look for it so I can prove it, literally have nothing. They have no savings. That blew my mind when I read that. I was like, is that right? But go ahead, Google it. I promise you, there are millions of people out there with no savings whatsoever, and they're doing it. So, yeah. Hey guys, today we're going to do some myth busting. I'm going to burst some bubbles. We're going to talk about some of the retirement myths that a lot of people still believe. And I'm going to share that with you, but I wanted to also give you an update on the car. We got some good news, but yeah, let's talk about the retirement myths first, because you're going to be surprised what people believe.
I wake up in the morning with a smile on my face, feeling thankful for the love and the happiness we chase. Sun is shining brightly, sky so blue and clear.
Since I've started my channel, and that's pretty much all I talk about, I've heard from people all over the globe and in all different demographics, and retirement is so different for each person. You know, there's not a one size fits all. So yeah, I want to talk about that. But if you've been watching my videos, you know that my husband got into an accident. We were stressed out because we're like, we didn't know if the insurance company was going to cover it or not. And if they didn't, we were going to have to dip into our, shrinking savings, and we had no choice. My husband needs a vehicle to go to work, right? And so we were just sitting here waiting with bated breath. And it turns out that we only have to pay our $250 deductible. They're covering the rest. They haven't let us know exactly what it's going to cost just yet, because they don't fully know, but the insurance company is going to cover it. Right now, the most they can tell us is that they have to take the radiator out, and they'll see if there's more damage after that. But right now, it's at least $1,700 for that. Plus, they're going to send it to another shop to do the body work, because it took out the front end of the car. I didn't even know that. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty extensive. So we're very grateful. I was stressed about it because it was like, I didn't want to dip into our savings. I'm trying to add to it, and it's the whole idea. But this is our life, right? Constant, series of unfortunate events. And that's why I'm in this predicament. Things like this just keep happening. Life just keeps lifing. And I'm trying to roll with it. But it's like, just give us a little break. I just wanted just maybe a year without having to pull money out. I want to be able to put money in. It just feels like a never ending, it's like the microwave goes out, or the washer goes out, or the car needs to be fixed. And then the holidays are here, and it's like, it's never ending. And that's what I wanted to talk about as far as retirement goes. One of the biggest myths is that things are going to be cheaper once you're retired. What are you going to wave a magic wand? Is life just going to stop once you're retired? You're not going to have any of these issues. Your microwave's never going to go out. You're never going to have to buy new underwear. What if you have to fly across the globe for a funeral? Life is still going to continue to happen. So you're still going to need money for all these things. And just, you can't just say, well, sorry, well, I guess you could if you had to say, I'm on a limited amount of money. I can't life anymore. This is all I can afford to do. And you just got to deal with it. And yes, there are people that are in that predicament. I don't want that to happen. It could still happen, but I'm hoping that we'll be in a position to where when things like that do come up, we'll be like, okay, just take it out of the bank. We'll be able to buy this or buy that. I don't want to just go running around shopping and going on cruises and just blowing my money. I want it to supplement our monthly Social Security. That's the whole idea. Now, like I said, since I've started filming these videos, I am amazed at how different retirement looks from person to person. So different. there are some of you that have millions in the bank and you're still living very frugally. You have no intention of going gallivanting all over the world and going on cruises. You're simply just going to continue living the lifestyle you have lived up to this point and drawing as much or as little as you need each month. And then there's others who are literally living off of $1,400 a month, according to one of my subscribers. And she is able to put $200 a month in the bank. Or is it him? But the idea is, it's so different. It just depends on your lifestyle and your mindset, how it's going to go. But some of us just need more money than others. And if you do, you got to be prepared to work for it. Or you got to learn how to invest, or, get a sugar daddy, sugar mama. I don't know. But I'm in a position where I don't have millions in the bank, but I know I couldn't survive on just Social Security. If I had to, could I? I'm learning from you guys. I think I probably could. Would I like it? Probably not. But, you got to do what you got to do. One of the biggest myths about retiring is, besides the, you're not going to need as much money, or you can live on less, or you're not going to need as much money. The second myth that I see is that, once you retire, life is just going to be so happy and wonderful, and just, that's not necessarily true either. For a lot of people, it's going to be good just not punching a time clock. I get that, especially if you had a job that you absolutely hated. It's going to be nice not having to get up and go to work every day. But if you're the type of person that's all you've done, and you haven't been nurturing relationships with family and friends, you don't have any hobbies or any plans, you're not going to know what to do with yourself. I've seen that happen time and time again. I don't know what people think. I don't know if they think that once you quit working, you're just going to start going and doing all these wonderful things. Well, for one, if you don't have a ton of money, you're probably not going to be able to do that. You may not have the health or the energy level to do all these things that you thought of. You may simply be staying home and not working. And for some, that's good enough. And if that's you, that's fine. I'm not knocking it in any way. But some people put off doing a lot of things because they plan on doing it when they retired, basically like traveling and maybe doing repairs around the house and that kind of stuff. And so once they retire, they just assumed that they would have enough money and they would be in good health and they'd be able to do all these things. But that doesn't always happen either. How many stories have we heard of people that literally dropped dead a week after they retired? Or, they had some kind of health issue which limited their mobility to the point where they couldn't do all these things, like, for instance, we wanted, on backpacking trips and, and hiking and camping. These are things we do now, but who's to say how much longer we can do those things? I've heard a lot of people say there's a big difference in, from the time you're 62 to the time you're 68 or 67. It seems like we age a lot faster. So even though I feel healthy and strong now, and I'm still able to work, if I wait till I'm 67 to retire, who knows how I'll be health-wise. I mean, fingers crossed, I'm going to continue, taking care of myself, and I'll be okay to go and do all those things. But nobody knows for sure. So, that's why you always hear people say, YOLO, you only live once, get out there, do it now, don't put it off, and it's like, yeah, it's easier to say than to do, because we don't all have the money to get out there and YOLO, you know what I mean? So some of us have no choice. We have to wait. Of course, the biggest myth is that you do need millions of dollars to retire. And for a while they were saying that, I saw it all over the internet. I was watching YouTube channels and they were literally telling people that. And I thought, well, I'm screwed because there's no way I'm going to have millions. I mean, we'll have some money and, we will have the equity in our house. But, at some point we might be forced to sell our house if all our money actually is gone. This will be it. And I don't want to get to that point. I want to stay in our house till I die. This is my dream, this is my home, and I'm hoping to pass it on to my kids. So yeah, we don't have millions, and we probably never will unless we hit the lottery or I don't know, something crazy happens. But we should have a pretty substantial nest egg. And we're fortunate. Both my husband and I work, and we are able to save some money and pay off our debts. But you don't need millions, and you guys have proven that to me. I hear from you guys all the time, people that have literally nothing in the bank. All they have is their monthly pension or social security check, and they're doing it. Maybe they're not living the dream that they had once intended, but they're surviving. And for some people, that's more than enough. I want to do certain things after I retire. I don't want my lifestyle to change that drastically. Now, it's going to have to change somewhat. I'm not kidding myself, because I know once we stop working and bringing money in and money's just going out, yeah, we're going to have to be careful. But if I have to change my lifestyle so drastically that it just impairs the quality of my life, shoot me now. I don't want to live that lifestyle. I mean, we've worked too hard and tried to save and prepare, and I feel like we deserve to live a certain lifestyle. We've worked for it. If I wasn't willing to work for it, then no, I don't deserve it. But that's why I'm still working, at almost 64. I'm willing to do that, and I'm not complaining about it. I want a certain lifestyle. I want to celebrate all the holidays. I want to, be there for my grandkids' graduations and weddings and baby showers. I do want to travel. I'm probably not going to get to go to Greece, but, I do want to do some traveling, and I don't even mind camping. I want to be able to replace my underwear once in a while. I want to be able to, fix the washer if it goes out, or, if one of my kids needs help. Yeah, I want to be able to do those kind of things. I don't know if I'll be able to do it or for how long, but right now that was the goal. That's the whole reason I'm saving, is so that I can continue to do those things. How long? 10, 15, 20 years? Who knows? I plan on living for a long time. I'm healthy and strong, and I've worked hard to get here. But I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. We all could. We can't. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see into the future. I don't know how much longer I'll be around. But the plan is to have enough money to supplement our monthly income to continue some quality of life. You know what I mean? Yes, we are going to have to be a little more creative, a little more frugal or flexible, and that's okay. But I don't want my lifestyle to change so drastically that I don't recognize it. As long as we're debt free and we continue putting money in our savings, I think we'll be okay. But like I said, I know a lot of people who have gone through similar situations as my husband and I, where we had plenty of money at one time, but then, things happened, depleted our savings, and we still have some savings left. We're fortunate. I've heard from people that have literally been wiped out for various reasons. Sometimes it's a bad divorce. Sometimes the partner got sick and the medical bills were just too much. So, a lot of people are looking at a totally different retirement than what they once planned on. And that's heartbreaking, because you've worked hard all your life. And especially when you've done everything you thought you were supposed to do, and you've saved, and then, you're just not going to be able to do the things that you've been putting off. That's sad. So yeah, we're not all going to be able to live in the lap of luxury. Some people will. And even, like I said, I've heard from people that have millions of dollars in the bank, and even they aren't going to be living it up. They're still going to try and be frugal, which is wise, So I like hearing from everybody. I'm learning a lot from listening to different people. And the economy isn't, things are still going to rise no matter what. Prices are still going to rise, but we know that our pensions and social security only go up in minuscule amounts, never enough to keep up with the rising cost of living. That just doesn't happen. And even though you're retired and you've cut back and you're trying to be frugal, there's some costs you're still going to have. You're still going to have some kind of housing, whether your home is paid for. You still have taxes, insurance, maintenance. If you have a vehicle, again, even if it's paid for, you still have to pay insurance on it and maintenance and put gas in it. You may still need a cell phone and internet. Groceries, the cost of groceries, my God, unless you plan on eating rice and beans for the next 20 years, you're still going to have expenses. Occasionally you're going to want to replace things around your home, and you're going to want to buy a present for your grandkids. There's just certain things that you're going to want to continue doing, and it all takes money. So you have to decide ahead of time what kind of lifestyle do you want to lead. Like I said, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't need millions, but I know that I could not just live off Social Security, not and live the quality of life that I want. But like I said, millions of people are doing it, and they're actually living very nice. And I need to watch more channels like that, because I've seen some and they do quite well. It just, it all depends on your mindset and what you're willing to do, what changes you're willing to make. So, yeah, there's a lot of myths out there, like I said, mainly the one that you have to have millions in the bank, or that retirement automatically is going to ensure happiness, or that things are going to cost less after you're retired. Those things aren't true. And a lot of us are finding out. But I think retirement is something that it's not a one size fits all. You have to decide what you want to do when you retire, and start saving now, depending on what it is you want to do. If you don't have any big plans, then I guess you don't have to save as much. If you're fine just sitting in the recliner watching TV, I'm not knocking it. If that's what you want to do it, but whatever the lifestyle is that you choose to lead, you got to be willing to pay for it. And that's why I am going to continue working until I feel like I've got enough money in there to do the things I want to do. So anyway, I'm so relieved about our car. That really just took a load off of my mind, because I was stressed. I thought, man, $5,000 or $6,000, that's a chunk of change to come out of our bank account right now. And I just want a year without having to pull anything out. Just 1 year with no, unfortunate events. Let us just, oh well. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know, what does retirement look like for you? What are your plans? And do you agree? Do you think we need millions? Because according to statistics, very few people are actually going to retire with millions in their bank. The vast majority of people, I swear I read this, I need to look for it so I can prove it, literally have nothing. They have no savings. That blew my mind when I read that. I was like, is that right? But go ahead, Google it. I promise you, there are millions of people out there with no savings whatsoever, and they're doing it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I do got to go to work, and I'll see you guys in the next video.